guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kathleen, and today's video is going to be my April book haul. Now, I tried really hard not to buy books this month. However, towards the end, I just had to go on Book Outlet and see what they had new that they put up on their website, and I ended up buying like 9 books from them, and I had already bought 4 other books in that month. So I ended up buying 13 books this month, which is better because there have been some months, as you guys know very well if you watch my other book hauls, you know that I tend to buy like 20, even 30 books in one month. I have a book buying problem, and I'm not afraid to admit it, but I do. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first 2 books that I bought this month were actually from Barnes & Nobles, and the first book that I did get was The Way I Used to Be by Miss Amber Smith, and this follows a girl who was raped by her brother's best friend, and I did a full spoiler-free review on this book. It was absolutely fantastic. I will leave it linked down below if you would like to check out my review. Alright, and then the next book that I got from Barnes & Nobles is The Glass Arrow by Kristen Simmons. This has been on my Amazon wishlist for so long that I finally bought this because I technically had a 20% off from Barnes & Nobles, which is the only reason why I picked this up. Otherwise I wouldn't have. But this follows a world where women are very scarce, they're very rare, so they are being hunted for breeding purposes, and our main protagonist, she lives out in the wilderness, out in the mountains with her family, so she has lived a relatively free life. However, one day the trackers find her and they steal her. It just sounds really good. It's been on my Amazon wishlist for so long, and I finally was able to pick up the book, and I'm really excited to read this. Alright, and then the next 9 books that I have to show you are my impulse buys from Book Outlet, and yeah, the first book that I got was That Summer by Sarah Dessen. This is one of the very few books that I have never read by Sarah Dessen, and as you can see, it is in the new pretty Sarah Dessen covers. She actually redid the covers of all of her books, so I went ahead and I bought it, and I actually am super surprised that it's so thin, so it's gonna be a very easy, very fast read. And the next book that I bought is the first book in a very popular series here on BookTube, and everyone talks about it. It is The Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I'm just really excited. It is a high fantasy novel. No idea what it's about, but I have been really in a fantasy kick lately, so everyone talks about it. So I went ahead and I picked it up since it was very cheap on Book Outlet. And then the next book that I got is another book that has been on my Amazon wishlist for a very long time, and I finally decided to pick it up when I saw this on Book Outlet, and it is Proxy by Alex London, and this follows a world where you have a proxy. So basically, if you do something bad, it's gonna be your proxy who's going to be punished, basically. And one day this guy, he does something really bad which causes his proxy to be sentenced to death, I believe. And however, he's friends with his proxy, and he obviously does not want that to happen, and so he's gonna try to help out his proxy from being executed. As I said, it's been on my Amazon wishlist for a very long time, and when I saw it on Book Outlet, I picked it up. Alright, and then the next book that I bought is a book that just seemed really interesting on a Book Outlet, and it is a dystopia, but it is called Control, and it is by Lydia King, and this is about a scientific mistake, like DNA genetic mistake. And I'm not 100% sure. They don't really give a lot of information on this book in the summary inside the flap. However, this is the first book, and I decided to pick it up just to see if I liked it, and if I liked it, I'll continue on to the series, but it just seemed really interesting. The next book that I got is another dystopian type of book, and you guys know how much I love dystopian, and it is Uninvited by Sophie Jordan. In this world, there is a gene called the homicidal tendency gene, and if you come up positive for this gene, it basically means that you have the tendency to someday become a killer. And our main protagonist, she was tested positive for this gene. She is a high school senior, and basically she is shunned from society, and basically she is forced to go to a class with other people who are also carriers of this gene. Basically the entire world now suddenly turns on her and people who are like her. I really liked the premise of this book, so I picked it up. I believe there are more books in the series. You guys know how much I love my dystopian worlds. Alright, and then the last 4 books that I got from Book Outlet were solely cover buys, and these are books that are contemporary books. I bought it solely because they have pretty covers. I'm sorry, I like pretty covers, and they just draw me in, and they were really cheap, so I got them. So the first book that I got is The Brilliant Light of Amber Sunrise by Matthew Crow. And this book is about a guy named Francis. I believe he comes from a broken home, and he's just waiting for the day that he turns into an adult, he graduates, and he can leave and make his own life. Then he gets diagnosed with cancer. At the hospital, he meets this girl named Amber who also has cancer, and it sounds very similar to The Fault in Our Stars, but honestly, I just bought it because of the cover. It is so pretty, and it was so cheap, and so I got it. But then again, I really did like The Fault in Our Stars, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love this as well. And then the next book that I got with a pretty cover was Romancing the Dark in the City of Light by Anne Jacobs. And this is about a girl named Summer, and Summer goes to Paris for school because she gets kicked out of a lot of boarding schools. She's gotten kicked out of 4 boarding schools, so her parents, I guess, send her to Paris to another school, and she seems to think that the only way that her life will become right is meeting the right guy. And there she meets 2 guys. It's a love triangle. It's a contemporary book. Obviously there will be some kind of romance. I bought it primarily for the cover. It's so pretty. It's so pretty, and I'm really excited. I have been to Paris before, and it's such a beautiful city, so I'm excited to revisit Paris through this book. And then the next book that I got with a pretty cover is A Little Something Different by Sandy Hall, and it is about 2 kids named Leah and Gabe, and they're in this writing class together, and basically this is the viewpoint from like the people around them. And I really like the premise where we are watching a love story unfold through the eyes of the other people around them. It just sounds really interesting, so I picked it up. It was very cheap on Book Outlet, but I love the cover. It's such a pretty cover. And finally, the last book from my Book Outlet haul that I got that had a pretty cover is The Probability of Miracles by Wendy Wonder. And this book is about a girl named Cam, and she has cancer, and she's basically spent most of her life in and out of the hospital trying to fight this disease. One day her mom just decides that she needs a miracle, and she decides to move them to a little town called Promise, Maine. And obviously Cam is a little unsure. She obviously does believe she needs a miracle, but there she does meet a guy, and their story unfolds. It is a contemporary novel. I bought it primarily because of the cover, but I decided to pick it up since it was so cheap. But it's such a beautiful cover. I love it. And finally, the last 2 books that I bought from my book haul were the final 2 books that I bought this past month, and I got them from Barnes & Nobles. The first book that I got was a book that everybody has been talking about. I believe it's a recently released book, but everybody has been talking about this book, and everybody has been praising it, and it is The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chotsky. I believe I mispronounced that. I'm sorry. And this is about a girl named Maya who receives a horoscope saying that she is going to have a terrible marriage. Her marriage is going to end up in death, something like that. And so a lot of people kind of shun her, stay away from her. But she does get married off to a king, and she ends up falling in love with the king. But then again, she does have that curse hanging over her head. Don't know too much about this book, to be perfectly honest. I have been trying to stay away from spoilers, but it just sounds really good. And finally, the last book on my April haul is a book that I have read before. It is one of my favorite books of all time, but I don't have a physical copy of this book. They recently released a new edition of this book to celebrate its 10th year anniversary, and it is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. And I love this edition. It's just so beautiful, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. Just very simplistic and just gorgeous. I loved it. Alright guys, so there is my April book haul, all 13 books that I bought in the month of April. Thank you so much for watching guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you are not already. I will see you guys on my next video. I do upload twice a week, so keep on the lookout for my next video. Also, I did recently start a Twitter account, so if you would like to follow me on my Twitter, it is _myloveofbooks. You can also follow me on Goodreads and my Instagram account. Yeah, it's all linked down below. Thank you so much for watching guys. I'll see you on my next one. Have a good day and keep reading. Bye!